Good evening, folks. Welcome back to another Monday night live stream. This one being our Christmas live stream, seeing as this is the last Monday before Christmas. So yeah, I thought we'd go festive. A little bit of decoration around the screen there. I've even got my Christmas jumper on as well. We're going full Christmas today. So yeah, we're going to have a bit of a chat today. No real specific topic other than the fact I'm going to kind of look back over 2021. What games I've played, what stuff I've painted, what kind of announcements came out this year, what kind of stuff have we been looking at, and what's been our hobby year for 2021, or more specifically, what's been my hobby year, and we can discuss yours in the chat as well. So, let's have a look in the chat and see who we've got. We had Ian in nice and early as well, saying, let's go Father BlackJack. Yeah, it's a bit of a creepy picture, that Father Christmas one, but yes, it was me. Mark Wright, good evening to you, mate. Ortega says, I can stay tonight. Welcome, nice to see you live, Ortega. How are you doing, mate? He's got some Marvel Crisis Protocol on the patent table. Very nice, mate. Pomsy, good evening to you, buddy. Busy's in as well. Hello to you. Mark's in. He's got his Moonstone Kickstarter's arrived, so he's messing on with that tonight as well. Kath Smith, good evening to the Smith clan as well. Hope you're all well. VJ, good morning. This is coffee and walk completed. I'm trying to grab a shower before we kick off. And he said that pic better not be Photoshop. It absolutely was Photoshop. I ain't posing for no photos like that. Blizz is saying, just when you thought you were in the clear, like the proverbial ugly Christmas sweater, a wild bliss doth appear. This is my first ever Christmas jumper. I've never had a Christmas jumper before, and this year I decided I'm going to have a Christmas jumper. The difference being is that it's a Captain America one. This is my Marvel Christmas jumper, so as you can see, I've got the shield on there, and I've got my Avengers logo on this side, and it's full of like little. If I can get the bottom of it up, it's full of like little shields on the bottom and stuff. It's got a big Captain America shield on the back, so it's Christmas, but it's geeky Christmas. Scott Latham, hello to you, buddy. How are you doing? Christian Reeves, good evening to you, sir. Jeff Higgins in as well, saying it's been a hot minute since I've been able to join a live stream. Hope everyone is doing well. I hope you're well too, mate. We got Ed in as well, saying don't know how long I last tonight. Had my COVID booster and feeling pretty rough. I had mine on Friday actually, and I was absolutely fine. I didn't have any side effects at all. So yeah, I was right as rain. Anna from Red Rose Wargaming, hello Anna, how are you doing? Merry Christmas. Tasty Brain Drain, hello to you as well. Glenn Griffin, evening and happy Christmas to you too. Tolmort, hello sir. Yoakum's in as well, good evening Yoakum. Nigel Jones says, wishing everyone a happy and healthy Christmas. Very nice, mate. Mark saying, nice jumper, thank you. Jason saying, I lolled at the Santa thumbnail. And it was Chris Cat saying, nice Christmas jumper. Yeah, like I say, I decided to treat myself. Dave Mackay, good evening to you, mate. Tony Howell, hello, sir. Kodos, good evening as well. John says he's working on a halfling harvest tonight and just got his negative result through for the vid. Nice one. Camo, good morning to you. Hello to James Zarm as well. How are you doing? Scott says he's just been assembling Mysterio and Carnage. Nice one. John says his test there. And VJ, I've seen hello to Tony as well. Good evening to one and all. I hope you're all very well. I hope you're all having a kind of like a nice, quite a chilled week leading up to Christmas. I know there's quite a few people are on holiday at the moment. Taking time off. Obviously the kids are off school now as well, so there's a lot of people taking time off early because of having to look after the little ones. But yeah, I hope you're all kind of chilled, all kind of relaxed, and ready for your Christmas. I had a night out last night with a couple of friends. We went for a few beers. One of my brother-in-law, Jason, and a friend of ours as well, who we haven't seen in a little while. So it was quite nice just to go out and have a few beers and just kind of relax. It was quite nice. And I've had a bit more of a laid back day today. Obviously, little one's been off school now as well, so my wife's finished for the Christmas holidays. Just kind of having a bit of sort of tidy around the house, bit of chill time. It's been quite nice. Where are we up to here? Luke Pryor, good evening to you, sir. How are you doing, mate? Tony Booth-Leiden as well, saying Merry Christmas. Says he's finished with the injections in his hands, so back to hobby soon. that heals up nice and well soon, mate. Chuck and Deb Taylor, good afternoon. Said project time, making a heated print booth in the garage for stinky resin. Staying on my wife's good side. Hope Lives, good evening to you as well. James Bray, good evening, matey. Nice to see you all. So, yeah, how we doing? Yeah, we got a decent crowd, and we might as well just kind of crack on. I've kind of made some notes. I always make notes, but I haven't made any kind of fancy screens or anything tonight because I just thought we'd literally go through kind of month by month and just we'll break it up. We'll have a chat if anybody wants to chat about anything as we go. We'll obviously do that, but we'll just kind of start with January really. So I look back, kind of my videos are normally a good kind of measure of what I was doing last year or doing this year, I should say. And yeah, in January the 6th this year, way back in the dark old ages, I hit 10,000 subscribers. So that started the year off to a nice little kind of like a nice little number. It was nice to kind of like hit 10,000. It was one of those kind of milestones that I'm not a huge believer in, kind of like sort of subscriber number milestones. They're a bit of a vanity thing really, it's as opposed to kind of actually any meaningful number. But it's nice to kind of hit those big round ones. And hitting 10,000 subscribers back in January was a kind of like, it's like everything's growing, it's kind of going the right way. So it was quite nice to do that. It was a nice little milestone and a nice little start for the start of the year. And then we also had Kill Team Pariah Nexus and Cursed City were announced back in January. So I had a few videos kind of talking about that stuff. Pariah Nexus being the kind of old Kill Team 2.0, we didn't really know about back then. We obviously all expected it, but we didn't know anything for certain. And yeah, so that was January. January was quite an interesting one. I was kind of painting. What was I painting back in January? I can't remember now. Oh, what was that? James Bray, thank you very much, mate. Nice, he says. Cheers, buddy. Just while I've paused there as well, as we've got a few new folks in as well. Jill, good evening, Jill. Hope you're well. VJ's looking forward to a relaxing Christmas at the coast. Robert Zunk's in as well. Hello, Rob. How are you doing? Cassie and the Christmas gobos are out. Frantic, good evening as well. Tiny War Games, good evening to you as well, buddy. So January was kind of a bit of a, I would say I think if I remember right, I was painting Malifaux kind of stuff as well back in January. I started kind of getting on my Malifaux wagon. I was painting things like Malosaurus Rex and that kind of stuff, I think, back then. And then we kind of roll into February. February we had we were talking about new release for Dreadball, which was the Galactic Tour released, which was the kind of the expansion for that. It was nice to see Mantic doing a little bit of stuff for that. On the plus side, it was great to see some new stuff for Dreadball. On the downside, it's almost kind of just like it's almost disappeared without a trace. Unless you're somebody that plays the game on a regular basis, it kind of falls off the conscience of the wider wargaming world, I think, like a lot of games do, unfortunately. But yeah, it was nice to see some expansion stuff for Dreadball back then. I was kind of painting some Mythos stuff, some Malifaux, some Dystopian Wars, Kings of War Armada as well. I was painting ships and stuff then. Now, the interesting thing with Dystopian Wars is, whilst I really do like the ships, the rules are constantly like moving still. And I had this problem with Wild West Exodus when it first came out, that they almost kind of feel like they release and then it like almost into a beta test state where things are still kind of a bit fluid and things. And I got to a point where every time I went to try and give it a go, I had to kind of re-download sort of some stats and things. So I just kind of decided to put it to one side and wait for the whole thing to kind of settle down. So I've not played as much of Dystopian Wars as I originally intended to. And we'll come on to Wild West Exodus a bit later on. Wild West Exodus seems to be doing a similar thing at the minute. Seems to be a lot of kind of updates and things moving around rather than just a release and then maybe wait 6 months and kind of update. It feels like things are getting tweaked very, very regularly. And then March was a bit more of a lively month because I got my first ever 3D printer back in March. That was my resin, my Elegoo Mars 2 Pro. And then Cursed City obviously went up for pre-order at that point as well. We knew it was going to be £125, so we had that whole conversation. And I was painting more Mythos and Malifaux stuff back then as well. So yeah, it was kind of an interesting start to the year, I suppose. We can't. We're like, I guess back then, like I think I'm trying to remember what we were like. Kind of, I don't think we could still really see people either back then. I think we were kind of coming out the back end of that kind of Christmas lockdown and stuff, and I still don't think we were really kind of supposed to go out and see people. So we weren't playing any games because I can remember getting Cursed City, and part of the reason I wanted Cursed City was the fact that I could play it solo and play it at home. So yeah, I don't think we were getting face-to-face gaming in back then. Lawman said I thought Cursed City came out later. It did. It actually came out in April, but it went up for pre-order in March. So I was just kind of like thinking back as to when, kind of like what state we in. I think that's another one of the reasons why I wasn't maybe playing quite so many games as well back then. I just literally wasn't kind of seeing anybody back then. So, where are we up to here? Hope Lives his first year I've not bought a big box set. I can't find anything to throw my money at. It's been a funny year actually, and I felt that this year that there's not been there's not been a lot of huge news, and I appreciate that. It's obviously a lot of it's down to things like sort of COVID times and restrictions on shipping and shipping costs and not getting things on time. But I guess as we go through the year, there have been some big releases, but there's not really been anything. You're right, kind of to throw your money at the end of the year, I suppose. Where are we up to? Oh, what was that? Rob Zunk, thank you very much for the donation, but yeah, very, very kind of you, mate. I kind of just while you're donating there as well, I want to obviously say thank you to you and everyone else as well. Just like for things like donations like this and kind of and all of the Patreon support that you and others have done for this last 12 months, the way like people shopping through affiliate links and all that kind of stuff, it's kind of helped kind of keep me going this year, because it's been a bit of a mixed bag this year in terms of being able to kind of get out and see people, being able to play games. Like new games have been kind of like pushed back and haven't happened on time. Events have been cancelled or events have been pushed back. The opportunity to get out and actually play games with folks has been kind of massively reduced this year. So it all impacts upon the kind of content that I make as well, and I have to come up with a lot of other more creative ideas, like not just kind of sort of playing games and stuff. So I really do appreciate everybody supporting me and my family through the last 12 months as well, and on BlackJack Legacy, and kind of keeping it going and making me able to do this for my full-time job. So thank you very much. Where James is saying, be aware, I'm on the red wine. I'm on the coffee, mate. I'm having a cup of coffee tonight. Jill says, evening, James. Hope it's a good one. Red wine's hard to beat. You're not wrong. BJ says, February, March, April, you guys were all getting hyped for Cursed City. That's right, it was a big Cursed City. Tony Howell, thank you for the donation, buddy. Very, very kind of you. Too kind, mate, but thank you so much. Yeah, we were kind of getting hyped for Cursed City, or how wrong I was. We'll come on to that. Marcus, after playing Kings of War yesterday, I bought a starter set, War in the Hold, and the Halflings Mega Army. You don't do it by half, mate, do you? You certainly dive in there. VJ says, given today's GW video drop, I guess we can say GW's production pipe is about 9 months. I think it's a bit longer than that, to be honest, mate. I think it's more to do with the fact that we'll come on to that one when we talk about the end of the year, but I think it's probably more to do with the fact that there's been production issues as opposed to just normal standard production. Scott said he's just treated himself to Star Wars Legion just because it's Star Wars. Why not? Kat says I'm on day 9 of Vid Prison, going to paint myself blue and cry freedom. Vid Prison. What's that? What's that for? Tony's saying pull the trigger and order the Moonstone 2-player starter. Nice choice, mate. Said the missus liked the look of it from your vid and tried a game at work and likes it a lot. I'm glad it was just kind of enough to kind of give you the little nudge to go and try it, mate. Congrats on the new game. Where are we up to here? Yeah, Ed saying, yeah, Cursed City topical. Blizzard says 3D printer may be in the works for 2022. I'll kind of come on to that as well, because I obviously bought another printer later on as well, and I did a little bit of an update. I'll talk about 3D printing when we come to it, because this is the first year I've done any 3D printing, so I've kind of got roughly about 9 months experience. Nine months on the resin one, about 6 months probably, or 6 or 7 months on the PLA one. So I'll kind of talk about that as well as we go. Yeah, Jill saying we were locked down at work till late April, early May. Yeah, so the first part of the year was a tough one really when it comes to like my own kind of mental health. I don't cope with lockdowns particularly well, I'll be perfectly honest. I don't have like a massive kind of sort of social circle of friends that I normally see anywhere, but the idea that I can't really go anywhere, even just like, it was the random stuff that I missed. I missed just going and sitting in a coffee shop. Because like on a Monday, I like to kind of grab my laptop, go and sit and have a cup of coffee somewhere, kind of stick my headphones in, set up the Monday night live stream, do my thumbnail, and kind of get everything set up. And I kind of, that's how I've got into it, like making a point of kind of starting the week, getting out of the house, getting some fresh air kind of thing, nip out, get a cup of coffee and a bacon sandwich sometimes. And it was the little things like that that I missed. So yeah, so it was a tough old start of the year, really. I think we kind of forget just how long we were kind of stuck at home for. Ian saying, yeah, I remember trying to getting it and stopping after turn two. Yeah. Rob saying, happy holidays, Andy. Thank you, Rob. James saying, the only thing I wanted to throw my money at was Marvel Crisis Protocol, and my in-laws have got that me for Christmas. Nice one. Tony saying, I'm looking forward to the Curse City expansions for the minis, but last box from GW that I bought was Curse City. Yeah, Curse City was the last GW, other than Paint. It was the last thing I bought from GW as well, which is kind of like, that's like 6 months, over 6 months of not buying any GW stuff this year. I've not been tempted really by other stuff. I'm definitely kind of off that kind of hype wagon, and I'll be honest, I didn't enjoy Curse City, so the fact that there's expansions coming for a game that I'm not really going to play is kind of neither here nor there for me, really. Tolmord, good evening to you. Dirk as well, good evening, sir. Tolmord saying he's going to get the new Dead Zone starter. Also looking forward to Army Paint and new Speed Paints. We talked about this briefly, the Army Paint and Speed Paints, in our Patreon group the other day, and I was saying that, to me, that they don't really interest me in the fact that they're kind of late to the party now. So for me, I've already got the full range of contrast paints, and I use them like sort of quite frequently. I really enjoy using them. I don't use them as just kind of put them on over a contrast sort of primer and just like leave them. I use them as a highly pigmented first layer kind of thing to get like a nice coat of red down or a nice coat of blue or something like that. Or like the browns I'm using for like kind of almost like a really highly pigmented, almost like a wash type thing and stuff. I like using the Gulliman Flesh for like a skin wash over the top of like something like a what's it called? Not the Catachan Flesh, the lighter one. I forget what it's called now. But the Army Painter ones for me, like even if they're great, I'm only going to use them in the same way, really. So I'm not going to go and kind of like sort of buy a set of Army Painter speed paints to replace a full kind of set of contrast paints. So who are they aimed at, really? Are they aimed at people who use contrast paints? Because those people are already kind of using contrast paints. If they're significantly cheaper, people might gradually over time kind of pick them up. If you're not into contrast paints, are the Army Painter paints, like, are they groundbreakingly different to the point where people who don't like contrast paints are going to like the Army Painter ones? I'm not sure, to be honest. So for me personally, there's no need for me to kind of pick them up and stuff. I might try one. I might pick one up just to try, purely from a kind of like a test purpose. But there's been plenty of videos online, people doing that, who've been sent them out for free. So yeah, I'm not in any particular rush for them, if I'm honest. Ian saying Liar Chronicles is around the corner. Yeah, I got an email the other day about making sure that delivery details were right for that. Andrew Fairbanks, good evening. Says, still don't know what the 5 things I should stop doing in my hobby. One thing you should start doing, mate, is start watching the videos. Then you would know. Where are we up to here? That just jumped up my screen a little bit. Tony says, happy Christmas to you and Lou. Get a nice bottle on me. Thank you very much, mate. That was very, very kind of you. Mitchell Bridges, good evening. He says, greetings, Andy, and happy holidays. Happy holidays to you too, sir. Kyle Rowan, hello, mate. How are you doing? He says, an early Merry Christmas to you and your community, Andy. Thank you very much, Kyle. I hope you have a very happy holidays as well. ER910, hello to you. Glenn Griffin, he says, if you let something go and it comes back to you, that's true love. Curse City. I just, honestly, I mean, each to their own. Everybody loves the games that they love, and they kind of like, they don't like the games they don't like, if you like. Curse City was, I would probably go as far as to say it is the biggest personal letdown I've had in gaming, in war gaming. The theme, the aesthetic of the thing, the background story, the miniatures, everything kind of was exactly what I was looking for at that time. It was what I wanted. I kind of predicted what I thought it would be, and I was absolutely bang on with what it was. And the gameplay just really let me down. There's so many better games out there of a similar kind of nature for the kind of thing that I like personally. I was so disappointed with it. So yeah, just kind of, if anybody's thinking about picking it up the second time around, if you get the opportunity to give it a try with somebody first, I would heartily recommend just giving it a try first, because I don't think it's the game that you think it is. Yeah, Ian saying my copy of Curse City's holding the mattress up. Mine is over there on the shelf, gathering dust, and it's never been opened since the day I put it away after that first game where I just went, no. Hope Lives says, when you talk about printers, here's a question. If you could own only one, resin or filament, hold that thought then, and I'll come on to that when I kind of come on to a little bit further down the year, mate, and I'll answer that one for you. Kat says, have been self-isolating for 10 days because got COVID. Oh, when you said the vid isolation, I'm thinking videos. That's the way my brain goes. John says, thanks for keeping me going through those tough times. Having a community meetup twice a week made a huge difference through the dark times. Thank you, mate. I mean, who knows what's round the corner, to be honest. It's from a UK perspective, it's looking like the dark times might be coming back, so who knows. James says, I still want to paint the rest of Curse City. I love the minis, and I'm excited about playing with my lad when he's a bit older. Yeah, I mean, by all means, paint the minis and enjoy the hobby side of things and stuff like that, but I would have a game on your own first, because you might want to just play something else when your little lad gets a bit older. Cassie is based on my Malifaux starter set and Marvel bits and pieces this evening. Very nice. Kislev Flesh is the colour I was thinking of, John Estel. Thank you very much. Yeah, James says, I think the Army Painter speed paints target the people who want that type of paint but refuse to spend any money with GW. I think you're probably not wrong, mate, yeah. Luke says, not being impressed with speed paints from the videos. I'll stick to contrast, won't need to replace one for any age. Yeah, it's kind of where I am, mate, if I'm honest. Camo says, I use contrast paint on figures I need painted to play. I use it on almost every figure now, but I just use it as like another kind of paint. You can get some really, really nice effects with them. Like, you can use them as a base, like even using them as a base like layer over a Zenithal Prime kind of picks out where the highlights and stuff should be because of the way the paint flows, and then you can highlight over the top of it really, really nicely. So for me, they're a really useful tool. Jill saying, I think they're for the vast majority of people who are interested in contrast but couldn't justify the cost of them. I don't know anyone in my hobby group who's bought more than one or two. I've got the full range, Jill, and I've like replaced them as well, like, over time. So I've definitely I've been happy with them. But I just don't think they're like, I don't think they're as expensive as all that, really. I mean, the Army Painter ones are not massively cheaper, if you like. It's just like, paint is a consumable type thing, you know. It's not like you buy a pot of paint for like, say, £4 or £5, and it's gone a week later. Like, you use it for months. And I get that if you buy the full range in one go, it's quite the investment in a big thing. But you buy the problem with contrast paints, I would say, is you have to try them to understand where they work really well. And I found the best way to really try them out was to have the full range of them and use them kind of as and when opportunities came up. So instead of having that, like, the idea of I need to use blue, so I'm going to buy the blue one kind of thing, I used them because they were there in front of me, and I used them in places I probably wouldn't have used them in the past. But I don't think there's a huge difference in price between those ones and the Army Painter ones, from what I understand. Lee Burns, good evening, mate. Says contrast is great, but money, so I haven't bought that many. We'll be looking to fill the gaps in colours I've got with Army Painter ones. I mean, we're probably talking like £1 difference, something like that, like massively. Like, I don't see it like as like. When people are spending like £100 on giants and stuff like that from Games Workshop, I don't see that kind of like that 50p or the pound like at the other end for a pot of paint being the difference to kind of to pick one over the other, really. But that's me personally. Kodos says, what I've seen is the speed paints are more consistent with their line. Contrast has some great, some good, some bad ones. I think the problem is with the speed paints ones that have been given out to people, they haven't had the full range yet. I think there's one or two have just received them, so we'll start to see some some videos happening and stuff. But I think they're good paints. I don't think there's anything wrong with them. I'm just not really sure who they're aimed at, who's not really already buying contrast. Tony says, contrast is too saturated for my style of paints, so I don't see myself going with the army painter. That's it, mate, as well. If they don't fit your kind of style of stuff as well, I completely understand that. I'm painting a lot of kind of like sort of comic book characters at the minute, and I like to paint with brighter colours, so they suit me down to the ground. Ian says, I've got a few paints, but I'm basically done the same as Andy. Just picks up the mistakes if you've other paints underneath. Yeah. Camos is off to work. Right, I think what I'll do is I'll catch up with the chat a little bit. James says, fast playing Cursey with my little lad, I'll probably make up the rules as I go along, like Christian does with D&D. I guess in that case, mate, it doesn't matter what the rules are like at all. Codus is saying he's going for dark brown speed print. Looks to be the best way to paint bronze. Okay, mate. Mitchell says, the last GW game I plan to purchase is Bladeborn. It appears to be a nice alternative for the Chaos Underworld's warbands without the stress of top-tier deck building. I thought the new stuff had pre-built decks now anyway, mate. Busey's saying contrast paints on a budget. Maybe just thin the hell out of your paints. Just so on face, Jason saying about Curse City, yeah, which has been talked about, mate. And Jim says, I wish the contrast paints were labelled with a bit more detailed. There are 3 types in there, some like wood stain, some like a wash, and some in the middle. Yeah, I think it just depends upon the colours. Like the like Aethermatic Blue is lovely for like kind of like sort of mythical or mystic flames and stuff like that. But it's not a heavy kind of pigment. But I guess that's just the difference. Mark said, how many contrast paints are there in the range? There's 32, I think, mate. So yeah, April, May, June time. What are we doing? April, May, June. So for me, April and May was a lot of working on this room, on this studio, pulling it all together. It was a lot of building work. Obviously, I was still doing live streams and stuff. I wasn't playing any games. If I remember right, we still weren't really going anywhere back then as well. I think I was going as far as B&Q to pick up bits of wood and stuff. Because I can remember, I think, the first day that lockdown ended, I went and ordered the carpet for this room. Because pretty much everywhere else was closed and stuff like that. They hadn't opened up properly yet. So yeah, I think I went and ordered the carpet the first day lockdown ended. So that was kind of coming towards the end of doing this room. So yeah, April, May time was a lot of building work in here, putting up walls, running in cables, kind of pre-planning for where cameras were going to go, all that kind of stuff. So gaming wise, I didn't do a lot of gaming back then. If I look back on my YouTube, if I look back in the videos I was making, and I'll have a look at kind of like what live streams and stuff we were doing. Let's have a look. Content, live, and I go back to. Let's just open this up a little bit. It should have some. Oh, there's all the dates. So we're talking about April, May time. So what kind of topics were we talking about back then? We were talking about like, obviously Curse City came out in April. So then I had the videos when I was talking about is scalping really a problem and stuff like that. I was painting a bit of Lost World Exodus back then. In April, we were talking about kind of getting back gaming. That's when Mantic were doing their bit of push as well to try and get people doing face-to-face gaming again. So that must have been when we're starting to kind of get into that area. We did our Fighting Fantasy Warlock of Firetop Mountain back in April as well. We did the Uncertain Scenery build. So I did the live stream where I built up some of the Uncertain Scenery sort of Dead Zone stuff. We had a bit of a chat about sci-fi games. In May, I was doing a little bit more Lost World Exodus painting. I also did my video about miniature agnostics, which kind of rubbed a few people up the wrong way because I think they misunderstood what I was saying, but never mind. And yeah, we were talking about tournaments and stuff back then as well. And I did my video in May, at the end of May, talking about what have I learned after 3 months. And at that point, I had both of my printers. So going back to the question, which was kind of if only one, which one? Let me just put that back in there so I can see it. If I only had one printer, which one? I would probably say now, randomly, and I don't think many will agree with me, I'd probably say the PLA printer. And the reason I would say that is I'm not really one for printing out miniatures. I've printed out some nice kind of like busts and stuff. I've printed off some kind of like nice size sort of sculpts and things. I've printed off some tokens. I've printed off little bits of scatter terrain, like things like ticket machines for my subway board and little kind of seats and things. I've printed off loads of bases for my miniatures. So I've really enjoyed using the resin printer. I think it's super simple to use, but it's been like little bits and pieces. The kind of stuff that if I didn't have the resin printer, it wouldn't have been the end of the world kind of thing. But I'm not really into printing like loads of miniatures just for the sake of it. I haven't like sort of thrown money at loads of different Patreons for getting like new miniatures every week. I don't sort of need random miniatures from kind of like different companies or anything like that. So I've not really printed a lot in terms of miniatures. When it comes to printing terrain and useful bits and pieces, the PLA one I would say has definitely been used more. So I've printed the entire kind of subway board, the underground board, which I'm doing for my Marvel stuff, and that'll come up in a video in the near future. I've been printing off kind of like boxes and tools to like hold my tokens in. I've printed off a stack of terrain for things, buildings. I've found that sort of for the money I spent on the printer, which was £150, versus the amount of stuff that I've gotten out of it of use, like really useful, I've found the PLA printer to be more useful for me personally. If you are somebody that prints, like if you are somebody that buys lots of random miniatures, or you think that you're going to save a fortune by printing yourself out a Kings of War army, or you're going to print yourself out a Warhammer army or something like that, using STL files, then maybe it's useful to you. But for me personally, it's just that like I never bought it to print lots of miniatures, so it's not like I bought it by mistake or anything like that. It was never my intention to print loads of miniatures. So yeah, I think it really just depends. It depends on kind of on each to their own, I think. But for me personally, the terrain side of things has probably been the better purchase. Christian saying there, is it Alkalian green is actually blue and great for painting denim, and Nazrak yellow is the worst paint in my opinion. I'm trying to think when I've used that. I think I've used Nazrak yellow for like blending in like flames and stuff like that. Actually, Jill says each to their own, but Army Painter have built a business being the cheap alternative. There's two ways to take that as well. You can say they're the cheap alternative, or you could just say that they don't need to do any R&D. They just wait for somebody else to release something and then make a cheaper version of it, and they don't need to do any kind of like development in that respect. The joy of wargaming, hey ho to you too. Andrew saying Donna Howell had a comparison vid between contrast and speed paints. Looks like it's close to the same. Both have issues with flat surfaces. Yeah, I saw Dana had just got the full box, and I think when she reviewed them, she'd been sent like 2 or 3 different colours or something like most of the people had been, to be fair. James says you should try out some miniature agnostic games. Why do you hate them? Are you literally the devil? I am, mate. That's exactly the reason. Lobian says, how did you find that chicken on an egg miniature? I never did print it, mate. I completely forgot about it until you've mentioned it now. Derek says, I agree with you on choice of printer. I use the PLA FDM one much more often than the resin one. Yeah, I definitely find that I do too, mate. James is saying I have a mate who's a resin printer and he never buys a mini. Subs to those Patreons, gets minis every week, prints and paints them. I think some people like that. Not for me, though. Yeah, I agree, mate. I think if you're the kind of person who just likes to paint minis, I think it's a great way to just paint off kind of like random miniatures that you find online and stuff, and it's probably cheaper in the long run than buying miniatures. If you're somebody that, like me, kind of buys miniatures to play games because, like, for example, things like the Marvel ones, I'm buying them because I want the cards, I like the miniatures, I want to support the game, then, like, it's not a lot of use. Like, I'm buying the miniatures that I want to play games with, or I'm buying the miniatures that I want to paint kind of thing. Jilson, you could use all the Curse City minis for miniature agnostic games too. Make everyone angry. Peter Stockdale, good evening to you. Scott Latham saying, thinking about the leap into PLA in the new year. I think the difference with PLA, mate, is as long as you know what you want it for, like, you won't be disappointed. Like, you can make I know kind of, if you're really into like finely detailed, realistic kind of like diorama type stuff, resin is going to be much better for kind of like really fine detail. But if you're wanting to print off big, like, sort of big buildings and stuff like that, and you know, just to kind of play with, just to put on a gaming table, I find the PLA is just kind of a bit more robust and a bit like sort of a bit more useful, really. Ian saying, I know you've been a bit busy. Hope to get Dodos riding down on soon. Yeah, I must admit, mate, I completely forgot all about it. Probably about a week after you sent me it. Yeah, James is saying, for the price you get a really fun gadget with a real use. Yeah, I don't know if anybody saw my last video where I made my little transport box for my Marvel stuff, but I've printed off like sort of packs for holding all my cards for Marvel, for holding all my tokens, for holding all the measuring sticks. I've printed off things like, I'm trying to think what else I've done. I'm just looking over there. I've printed off buildings. I've got buildings there which are kind of like sort of like fantasy buildings. I've got Wild West buildings. I've got some sci-fi stuff. I've just found the PLA printer probably more useful for me personally, really. Yeah, and Scott's saying buildings and other scenery bits. If you want smaller scenery bits, like little scatter bits of terrain and stuff, I found the resin printer is better. So if you're wanting to do like bases, or you're wanting to do things to print off to put on bases, or you're wanting to print off things like bits of like barrels or little boxes or like that kind of scatter terrain, I think the resin's probably the better way. But if you want to sort of print off any bigger things, like sort of, you know, actual physical buildings and stuff like that, yeah, PLA all day, mate. So June-wise, which is kind of coming up end of May into June. In June, the studio was completed. I did a video kind of giving everybody a bit of a tour around here. So by June, I had completed this. And if I remember right, I was trying to get the studio ready for when people could come and play games again. So that all kind of like lines up in my head now. So we think about it, the first 6 of the months was a bit of a write-off really from a physically being able to go to events, go to see people, go to game stores. Any of that was just basically, yeah, forget it. In June was when I actually picked up Marvel Crisis Protocol as well for the first time. I think I've mentioned many times I picked it up for my own kind of hobby stuff in the background. But yeah, that was when I actually picked up Marvel. I played Moonstone for the first time back in June as well, and it was one of the games that I picked out as my games of the year. Really enjoyed Moonstone, and Overdrive came out as well in June. Or I got to play it in June when Rob from Mantic came here to film, and we filmed some Overdrive videos. So it was really good to actually get my hands on it and play it in person and see what the game was like. So for all it didn't release in June, I actually got the opportunity to play it back then. And again, it was another game that made my top games of the year, games that I'd been playing. Into July, we had Kill Team 2.0, Kill Team 21, whatever you want to call it. It was announced to a big fanfare in the Kill Team community. I made a video about kind of don't fear the change, and I know people were a little bit mixed feelings, didn't really know what to expect from what was happening with Kill Team. For me personally, it was kind of like I know that I'd fell out with the older version of Kill Team. Warcry had kind of replaced that for me, if you like, and I wasn't that particularly interested from what I saw from the trailer. But it was one of those things where let's wait and see, and we'll see once we've got some more information. And then at the end of July, I think it was like July the 30th into August the 2nd, right at the end of July, I got to go to the UK Games Expo. And it was fantastic to actually get out and see people again and play games face to face. I was lucky enough to kind of meet up with I'm trying to remember the people that I met up now. I know me and Luke spent a bit of time together. I met up with Marco as well. Who else did I meet up with? I'm gonna forget some names now because my memory's terrible for that kind of stuff. I apologise if we met at UK Games Expo and I haven't mentioned. But yeah, my brain's not good for names over long term rather. So yeah, but I managed to kind of like meet up with some people. Luke and I managed to get a demo of Carnivale back then as well, which was awesome. We played some board games. I drank some beer. It was just nice to kind of see people. I got to meet Free from on Tabletop for the first time face to face. We chatted kind of online a little bit, but I'd never managed to meet her before, so it was nice to say hello to her face to face. It was just nice to meet up with some folks, to be fair. So yeah, it was kind of like a nice ending really towards getting into the summer and stuff like that, into the end of the summer. Let's have a little look in the chat here and see what people are talking about. Kodos is saying agree with PLA as well. Printing hobby supplies and terrain is much more useful than the minis, which you can always get for cheap outside of GW. Yeah, I think if you're somebody that's playing with big armies, things like Kings of War, things like Warhammer, things like AOS, and you're happy to play with 3D printed models, because I know a lot of GW players don't, and I know a lot of people who play Kings of War like to try and kind of support Mantic as well, and to try and obviously keep them coming as well. Oh. Thank you very much, James Bay, with the peach there. I'm not really sure what that was for. But I think if folks are looking for bigger armies, it might become quite cost effective. But there are a lot of people I know who have resin printers and then spend quite a big sum of money every month on all the different Patreons to get all the different files that they then just store in files on their computer and never ever print off. So unless you kind of have, it's going for the whole fruit salad now. If you kind of have a plan in place, it's not too bad. But if you're just buying for individual 1 or 2 minis, I'm getting the fruit showing up in the chat screen, but the fruit's not showing up on the main screen, so you'll have to see it in the chat. Yeah, if you're just getting individual minis, I don't think it works out that much cheaper in the long run, really. Like, because you're probably buying a file with maybe 10 different minis in it, as opposed to just buying one individual file. So yeah, it's cheaper, but it's not like night and day cheaper at that point. It's cheaper if you're buying files to print off, like, say you're doing a Kings of War army and you want to do a unit of like 20 dwarves. Rather than buying 20 models, you can buy a file that has like 2 or 3 different types of dwarf model in it, and you can print them off multiple times to make up multiple units. That's when it starts to become cost effective. Where are we up to here? Jason saying, I can't wait till my Moonstone order comes in the mail. Yeah, I think they're starting to kind of come now. If you're part of the Kickstarter, I think they're starting to come now. James is saying, just so you know, Andy, I was supposed to be at the Ivy having dinner tonight, but I decided to watch the stream instead. And the kids got a bug and we had to cancel. Yeah, I saw in the Patreon, mate, that you'd kind of had to cancel a few things. It stinks, doesn't it, when the little ones are not well. Codus is saying, need to get up early tomorrow. Good night, everyone. Merry Christmas. Have a nice holidays. And stay safe. Thank you very much, Kodos. Take care, buddy. Tony says, I got to say that I'm glad I didn't go down the 3D printing route. Oh, what was that one? Something just flashed up on my screen there. Is that one? Is that Rob B pledged? I saw that. Rob pledged by Patreon. Thank you very much, Rob. I think that's Rob up in his Patreon. I think, actually, if it's the same Rob. I discovered just how much I enjoy old schooling it and making it myself. I know it's not for everyone, but hope to improve in 2022. That's your hobby, mate. You love making those kind of like diorama stuff and things like that. For me, I just want a quick solution. I'm not somebody that's ever enjoyed kit bashing stuff. One thing I do like about resin printed miniatures is they tend to kind of come in one piece mainly, so there's not a lot of building involved. But actually, I've found with the Marvel stuff, I've quite enjoyed building them, to be fair. I think it's when I just get a big box of like a full army, and it's like just full on clipping and scraping and gluing and just like a production line. I think that's when I don't find it quite so much fun. Jason says, I saw Warcry Red Harvest at shop at the weekend. That totally flew under my radar. Yeah, I know what you mean, mate. It kind of came out and didn't seem to kind of, people didn't really get excited about it. It had some nice terrain in it, but it's another one of them where sort of GW very quickly moved on to the next thing and we didn't really hear a lot about it. Jill saying Warcry likely to have a new edition this coming summer. We'll see what they do with that. Do you know what, Jill? I've got mixed feelings about that, because actually there's nothing wrong with the current edition. I know GW that's the way they work, but they normally end up doing a new edition because there's some inherent problems with the old one. And Warcry is one of the very few games that they've launched that actually doesn't really have any major issues. It's not a mega competitive type of game to start with. It's nice and simple. And for me personally, I'd rather that they didn't really mess with it. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. The whole fruit salad. But he says you're just giving tips that you would otherwise spend at the Ivy. I don't think you get far on the Ivy with those tips, mate, to be fair. And I don't mean that derogatory. I just mean it because it's the Ivy. Michael Cowan, hello buddy, how you doing? Jill says, I have a dream army I'd like to start working on, and 3D printing would probably be more useful, but the idea of having to search through thousands of files to find what I want, that'll take me a year. That's the other side of it as well, is that in just the same way you still have to search through all the different companies, to all the different miniatures. The beauty being that you don't have to wait for delivery. You just buy the file, it gets delivered electronically, and it's there for you to print off straight away. But you still have to put the effort in to kind of go looking. Scott says, I got a resin alternate Baron Zemo sculpt for Marvel off eBay, cheap enough. Yeah, I mean, there's quite a big market in Marvel kind of miniatures. I'm in a Marvel 3D printing kind of Facebook group where people do a lot of alternative stuff. I quite like it for things like the sort of like a lot of the Disney kind of plus shows, when characters have been sort of done in them. People have done like sculpts of them and things, and sell either the files or sell them. But yeah, I mean, if you don't mind me asking me, roughly how much did you pay? Because I'm kind of thinking they must be like, to make it worthwhile, they've still got to be about 10 quid or something like that, haven't they? By the time you pay postage and stuff like that. Ed saying, I know the local shops, don't let people play with 3D painted minis, or at least entirely 3D painted forces. It's hardly in their best interest. That's the other side of it, and I kind of understand that as well. If you're playing at home, you know, play and paint whatever you want to. It's your hobby. You can entirely do it. But I understand it from a shop perspective. If I own a shop and I sell miniatures, and everybody that comes into that store goes, well, we're just coming to use your tables. We're not going to buy anything from you. We're just coming to use your tables, kind of thing. The store's going to close down pretty quick. So I'm a big believer in kind of support the place where you play. So 3D printing kind of has its place, but yeah, it's only the fact that it's not more widespread, and I don't ever think it'll really get that much more widespread. It's not like the prices are coming down anymore now. They're already kind of at rock bottom. All that's happening now is we're getting kind of more and more kind of bells and whistles, really. Even the quality of the sculpt isn't like kind of sort of massively improved anymore now. Where are we up to here? I'd certainly like both, but probably the Dickensian one would fit the bookcase better. What we're talking about now. Ian said, I made a diorama. A lot of quote as well. That was when Ed was saying. Vija says, just forked out for postage on Monpok, 150 Australian dollars on 20 kilograms of game, combined with what the game itself cost me. Thankfully, with work back, money isn't so tight anymore. Yeah, that is thankfully, mate, isn't it? It's good to see that kind of that. But yeah, I can't wait to see what you got, mate. It's not a game I know a huge amount about. It wasn't something that personally interested me, because it's not something I've ever heard anybody really in the UK playing that much. I know it's more popular elsewhere, but yeah, I'm interested to see what you got, mate. James is saying, I'd love to see you try a diorama for the channel this year. Even if it's a fail, it would be good content. I'm not sure, mate. When I've looked at diorama stuff, it's almost a case of like, it needs to be almost for a reason. Do you know what I mean? And we'll see. I'd like to do something, but I have no concept of what I want to do with it. Ian saying, the only thing wrong with Warcry is if you play a made for Warcry warband against a made for AOS warband, the AOS warband seems overpowered. I think the problem with that, mate, is less to do with the balance of the warbands, and it's the fact that when people play a made for AOS warband, they actually build the list. They go on, we're going to take 3 of these, I want to take 2 of them. You know, they actually kind of like craft a list to try and kind of to do something special. But when they play a warband that was made for Warcry, they just buy a box as it is, and they play it like that. But actually, if they applied the same kind of, I'm going to buy 2 boxes, and that gives me some options to kind of play different bits and pieces. Like, for example, the Untamed Beasts, which was like one of the first war bands that came out. They came out in the original starter set. They're a completely different warband if you run them with 2 of those kind of like wolf or dog things, wherever they are. I forget what they are now. But 2 of the beasts, if you run them with 2 of the beasts in your warband, it completely changed how that warband plays. And I think I like the fact that you can just buy a box and play the game. But if you want to play it like more competitively, there's a lot of list building that didn't really happen with the Warcry warbands, and I think there's an element of that got them a bit of a bad press, to be fair. Scott's saying, I hope they don't kill Warcry with a new edition. Yeah, if it comes, mate, I agree. It needs tweaks to sell books, really, rather than kind of completely rewriting the games. James is like, I donate enough to get Andy dancing for the cost of dinner at the Ivy. You're not wrong, mate. You could do as well. Hobby Lodge, hello, mate. He says, loving the jumper. Thank you very much, mate. Tyler Peck, good evening to you. He says, hope everyone's doing well. Has a wonderful holiday season. Nice one. Ed saying Warcry has some balance issues. Try playing Stormcast Rangers or Skaven into Iron Jaws. Yeah, exactly the same as what I was just saying before about the balance with list building and stuff. VJ said he's been sourcing some Marvel Chibi sculpts to use with a Chibi version that he's setting up, trying to get the ones from Marvel United was going to be way too expensive. Yeah, I can imagine, mate. Scott's saying, yeah, £8 plus portraiture and packaging for Zemo. And obviously he's got the original one in the core set, but wanted a better pose. And I would not look to buy a separate mini without having the original to support the game. Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that stuff, mate. My point was just being that basically like the price of an individual mini compared to the price of an individual mini for Marvel if you bought the original ones, it's not a massive kind of difference in cost. It was kind of what I was wondering about. Andrew says painting contest when? I never do painting contests, mate. I do painting challenges, and we'll do one in the new year. But yeah, I'm not sure, mate. I'll have to come up with some ideas. VG says I'll take plenty of pics when it lands, but it's not due until November 22. You have to pay the postage now, mate. That's a bit harsh. Let the channel vote on your diorama. I would never do that, mate. And the reason I would never do that is the fact is I need to be invested in it myself. And if it's not something I want to do, I'll have no intention, like no interest in getting it finished, I think, and that's the problem. But yeah, we'll see, mate. We'll see. Right, let's go down. So August, September time on the channel was a bit quieter because that was when I was kind of going through a bit of illness. I was kind of in hospital and stuff and getting tests done and wasn't in a great place at that particular time. So August and September were a bit quieter for me, and the channel took a real dip as well. Like it was amazing, kind of missing a few live streams, missing a few videos. It was almost as if YouTube just kind of like almost switched it off, like its visibility, and it was amazing how much that kind of hurt the channel in the middle of the year. To be honest, it was one of the reasons the growth stopped. Like I didn't drop backwards, if you like, in terms of like my numbers didn't go down, but like my viewing numbers went down, like my income went down. I wasn't getting any kind of like growth or anything like that. So it was a bit of an eye opener just to kind of show what happens there. But obviously once I kind of got back into stuff and things, it's been back growing again now. So it's not the end of the world, but it was eye opening, I'll be honest. We kind of then got into October. And that was when I started doing some of my interviews. So I did an interview with Weird, was the first one. Really enjoyed chatting with Kyle from Weird Games. The Mantic guys came up to the studio here when they filmed all of the Dead Zone stuff. And I got to chat with Matt Gilbert as well, and we had a good chat about seeing behind the scenes really of just what goes on and how far ahead he's planning with stuff to make sure that sculpts are getting done on time and production in China and sort of like the first offs are getting signed off and how long it takes to get things shipped across the oceans and stuff. It was quite eye-opening just to see how much goes on behind the scenes in that. I was playing quite a lot of Vagrant song back then as well. I got one sent to do a review. I must admit I've not done the review yet, if I'm honest, and it's just been a case of like just timing and stuff like that. But I really enjoyed playing Vagrant song, and we also had Dead Zone 3.0 announced, and like I say, the Mantic guys were here filming their how to play videos as well. So yeah, so it started to kind of pick up October time. It was nice to see Dead Zone getting a bit of love. Dead Zone 3, the new version's great. I really like what they've done with it. They've kind of, I wouldn't say they've streamlined the rules. I think they've streamlined the rule book, which makes the rules feel more streamlined, even though the rules haven't changed dramatically. So things like the kind of the force organization stuff, the actual stats in the way they're laid out, just makes the game feel even more straightforward. But the rules are kind of the rules, if you like. Busey saying, at least you didn't go off the radar for a year and you did keep people updated. It was kind of, I'll be honest, mate, it was kind of a tough one because obviously I was going through some like like with my health and stuff, it was quite a personal thing. I mean, I can kind of talk about it now, really, because everything's fine. But for quite a chunk of time, I had a bit of a cancer scare, basically, and I was getting like lots of tests to see if I had cancer. And as you can imagine, like kind of finding that out and not knowing was pretty kind of like I was kind of like shitting myself. Obviously, I didn't really know what kind of like my arse from my elbow at that point in time, and I didn't much feel like kind of putting on a smiley face and doing live streams when like at the back of my mind all I could think about was like, is this it, like kind of thing, like is this, things are bad. As it turned out, after lots and lots of different tests, the NHS were fantastic. I got loads of tests done really, really quickly, and they came back and everything was fine, kind of thing. But yeah, for a few months, it was like, oof, this is not fun, kind of thing. So yeah, but part of me wanted to kind of keep that to myself, but especially at the time when it was happening, I didn't really want to talk about it. But then part of me thought, well, I do have to kind of tell people something's going on. So I really kind of wrestled with like kind of talking about whether that was something I wanted to talk about it or not. So that was kind of why I was very vague at the time about when I was in and out of hospital and getting loads of tests and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it was just a tough time. And again, it was one of them things I didn't really want to talk about it. I kind of wanted, like, I still want my personal life to be my personal life. I'm fine talking about it now because I'm fine. But I think, I don't know how I'd have felt if I wasn't fine. And that was kind of like a weird thing as well. Dear saying, glad you were given the all clear. Yeah, me too, mate, as well. And John saying, guess the lack of sick pay on YouTube and Patreon is a scary prospect. I'll be honest, mate, the money didn't really kind of like, I didn't really think about the money at the time. It wasn't until like kind of like I got the all clear and it was time to kind of like knuckle down and get back working again properly, that kind of, I saw that kind of drop off and stuff. And kind of thought like, oh Jesus, like it's almost not like starting again, but you've got to push back up that hill again. And I did lose like quite a lot of Patreons back around that time. Like I lost like probably maybe 15-20% of my Patreons left at that particular time. And I don't blame any one of them. But it's tough. It's tough to, like, when you're going through that in the background, and then people are like sort of like leaving because you're not doing anything. Understandably, it's a bit of a bittersweet pill to swallow a little bit. November time. So yeah, November. I then did a Carnivale interview with TT Combat. It was really, really nice to talk to the guy from TT Combat. They've actually sent me some a nice little care package of Carnivale stuff that I can see over there that I've just literally not had a chance to kind of delve into and do anything with. So yeah, that'll be something that we'll be doing in the new year. But yeah, it was great. It was great to see that one. And then we did an interview with Warren from Beasts of War. And surprisingly, that was a video that I didn't see taking off the way it did, to be fair. Warren and I sat and chatted for about 2.5 hours. I managed to edit the video down to about an hour and 10 minutes. I hummed and hawed about whether the video was too long, whether I should whether I should kind of like do it in 2 parts, whether I should chop it up further. But I thought, you know what it is? Anybody that watches more than 15-20 minutes is gonna like watch the full thing anyway. They'll put it on in the background while they're sitting painting or whatever, and just like listen to it like a bit like a podcast. So I decided to just kind of put it out in its entirety. And I intentionally put a bit of a kind of like, not clickbait, but a clickable thumbnail and an enticing title. And I knew exactly what I was doing, and it worked. I didn't see that video hitting like 30,000 views the way it did. And it certainly helped at the back end of the year to start to get me back up the curve again and get the channel kind of out in front of other people again. And it's kind of, it's got growth back into the channel again. Subscriber numbers went up, viewing numbers went up. And in turn with that, more people get to see my older stuff, and the other videos start getting shared out again as well. So it's amazing how that algorithm, even though I'm kind of like, I still only make the videos that I'm interested in, and I don't want to just feed into that algorithm of like, oh well, GW is popular, I'll make GW videos. It's amazing that when you actually do something that kind of resonates with people, how it kind of like it kicks everything else on as well, and it comes back again. So, yeah, it's good. And then I did have another interview set up for the end of this year with somebody else. And unfortunately, they had to cancel due to going to a funeral. But I will be interviewing them in January. So somebody else wants to come to the studio here, wants to sit and do an interview. And I think that's another one of those videos I think is gonna do really well. And I love doing them. I love just sitting chatting to people. I love chatting about the tabletop industry. I love hearing about the behind the scenes stories. I could literally do that all day. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that one as well in the early January. Where are we up to here? Oh, Tony's saying, yeah, I figured what the concerns were earlier on. Yes, yeah, I bet you did, mate. Vijay says, great to see how the channel's bouncing back after all that. Yeah, it is nice, mate. There was a bit of time, I must admit, where kind of like, sort of like September, October time, I was thinking, my God, it's like starting all over again now as well. Sunday Psych, thank you very much, mate. Merry Christmas to you too, buddy. Thank you for the donation. There was a point in kind of September, October, where I was feeling a bit flat. I just kind of like come through all that stuff and like, still wasn't in a great place kind of thing. But yeah, it's kind of, yeah, I've kind of got a bit more energy about it again now. It's kind of come back now. Now things are starting to kind of get back into the groove again. James is saying January Carnivale challenge. We could do that, mate, actually. That might not be a bad shout. Scott's saying, love the video with Warren. Yeah, he's a lovely guy, really nice guy to chat to as well. Like I say, we sat and chatted for about 2 hours. There's loads of stuff that we chatted about that I didn't even record. It was just us kind of sitting, just kind of getting to know each other before we started the interview, really. So, yeah, I literally could sit and chat to Warren all day. James is saying, I say this because I'm looking at some Carnival and need to paint. Yes. EO910 says, long form interview was great. More, please. I'm always kind of like, I never really know whether that kind of stuff's going to do well or not. But yeah, it seemed to do great. Jill says, didn't surprise me. Warren's one of the faces of the industry that people know. The chat was great. You could have chatted to him about anything. I think it's, I mean, I'm not kidding myself. I know for a fact that sort of Warren's a popular guy, but putting that kind of, that we said no to GW twice in the title and in the thumbnail was always going to kind of drive more views. It got a lot of people who would never see my channel ordinarily, people who are Games Workshop fans, people who are not Games Workshop fans. It got it in front of a lot of people who would never normally come to the channel, and that's kind of the point with every new video, really. Tony says, let's see what 2022 brings. It's all good news. Yes, fingers crossed, mate. Andrew says, did you watch the Lions cards game? I watched the highlights, mate, like the kind of like the game in 40 minutes thing. Yeah, I did watch it. It's about the best thing that Jared Goff has ever done for the Rams was winning the game against the Cardinals. James Braces need to get some more wine. Don't dance while I'm away. I promise I won't, mate. And VGs, I believe there was supposed to be a remote Patreon interview after a certain Blitzball game. There was, mate. We still need to do that. That'll be our 2022 one. We'll definitely get that one in. But as you can see, at least I haven't done it with anybody else. It's not like I've kind of binned you off, mate. We've just never got round to it, have we? Like I said before, I wasn't in a great kind of place for kind of like sitting having chats and stuff like that. But things are on the up now, mate. We're all good. VGs, I'm free between Christmas and New Year if you are. I'm not actually sure, mate. I don't know what our plans are family-wise. I'll have to see, mate. But if I am free, then yes, we will do it. Sunday Sykes says, just got here, so you might have answered it already, but have you got any more cool interviews lined up for 2022? I was just literally saying it, mate. I had an interview lined up with somebody at the end of this year. They actually contacted me to see if I wanted to do an interview and could they come here to do it as well, which I thought was awesome. And I don't want to kind of spoil the surprise really, but it's somebody that I'm sure everybody would love to kind of hear from, and unfortunately had to cancel it for some personal issues, so we've kind of rescheduled it for January. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that one, mate. So yeah, to be honest, I'm just literally, I love doing those interview stuff. It's more about kind of finding the people, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, but finding the people that have something that people want to hear about, or have like an interesting story or an interesting background. And they also need to be somebody that I kind of want to hear from, because it's hard to interview somebody that I'm like, if somebody says, oh, why don't you interview this certain person who used to make kind of 40k back in the day or something, and it's like, yeah, I'm sure there's lots of people out there would want to hear from them, but I don't really know enough about that subject to be asking questions really, to like, because it's not something I'm particularly interested in. I don't necessarily know the questions to ask. So there's a fine balance about getting the right guests and sort of having an interest in it as well, to kind of to want to ask the right questions. And I'm still getting my head around who those people are really. So yeah, I'll get some more lined up for next year, but I really enjoy doing them, so they'll definitely come back. Did he dance? No, I didn't dance. Andy Smith, good evening, mate. He said, Peter says, did I miss the wear a Christmas jumper memo? I actually did put it in the Facebook group, if you read it, where you replied. I did say Christmas jumpers are optional. Actually, I think I said Christmas jumpers are encouraged. I think that's what I said. Let me double check. I'm sure I did. Let's have a little look. Where was it? I'll find it now. There it was. What I said was, make sure you're in a suitably festive mood. Christmas jumpers are encouraged. So you did, and then you replied in the Facebook post. It just shows nobody ever reads what I write. VJ is just saying that, Andy, do you think you would get an interview with Andy Chambers or even Jervis Johnson? I think it's a prime example, mate. Really, it's like they mean a lot of things to other people, but to me personally, like they haven't necessarily shaped my gaming history or my start in gaming, if you like. There are other people who've kind of done that for me, so it's interesting. Like that, it might be that. I say obvious. It might be the ones people want to hear from, but I think like people like Andy Chambers have done many interviews. And I think I don't know if I'd just be regurgitating old answers. Do you know what I mean? Andy Smith says, don't worry about having time off. Life goes on. I mean, everyone needs some time off. Everybody needs a break and stuff. But when you're doing this kind of stuff, you almost need to plan for a break. You need to do videos in advance to kind of to set live while you're having a break. So you need to plan for time off in advance. That's the difference. And when I got ill before, it wasn't something I'd obviously planned for. Ian's saying there, you'd be there disinterested in it, and that wouldn't be great. Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. And it's not about being kind of like, it's not about being ungrateful to the people who've done some like good stuff. It's just that for me, like I'm not that invested in some of that stuff, and I might not necessarily like know the questions to ask or know where to explore a certain issue. I don't necessarily know the background to certain things. There are people within that kind of sort of industry and era that I do want to talk to, and I won't say their names now, but I think there are people who have some interesting stories that we can talk about. Sunday takes like a shave a Christmas tree into my chest there. That's like a Christmas jumper. Ian says, I brought Christmas cheer. That's just that James Bray drank it all. Nigel says, another vote for Carnivalia, although I would prefer it in February or March rather than January. Yeah, we'll definitely do it kind of like start of the year, but like we'll get set up. We'll give people time for it, though, that's for sure. Peter says, ain't nobody got time to read the small print. The small print, also known as the actual post. John Benham, good old mate. He says, guess as a journalist you sometimes interview who the viewers want. I think you do, mate, but like I'm not a journalist, and that's the difference. Is that it's like that's not really what I do. It's different if you're interviewing as a journalist, like if you're somebody like on TV, like Graham Norton type thing, and interviewing, they have like a team of researchers who basically go away and find out all of the kind of the interesting stuff, and they prep the questions and all that kind of bits and pieces. Or you get like investigative journalists who are asking specific questions to try and get certain parts of information out of them. What I'm doing really is just trying to kind of sit with people that have like sort of done something within the kind of hobby industry that I think people want to hear from. But I like if I sit and talk to somebody and I don't ask the right questions that the fans, if you like, want to hear, I won't know that I haven't asked the right questions until the video is live, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? So it's a mixed bag, really. I know you have to interview people that people want to hear from, but for me personally, I still have to have like an interest in it. Vigi says, yeah, that's understandable. I'm keen to hear from people all over the hobby spectrum, so I'm sure you'll find people that will tick boxes. Yeah, exactly, mate. Ed saying, Brian Ansell will be fascinating, but I've never even heard of him doing an interview. I think there's a prime example there, mate. I've no idea who Brian Ansell is. I've never heard his name before. I don't know what he's done, and that's no disrespect to the guy, because the fact that you've brought him up obviously shows that he's kind of like he has some kind of history in tabletop gaming, but I've never heard of him. So like that's exactly the kind of point I'm making. Like I got into tabletop gaming much later than most folks did. Like I've only really been in and around tabletop gaming for about, well, on and off for probably about 15 years, really. with a bit of a gap in the middle when I got divorced and stuff like that. But I don't go back to the old kind of like sort of third edition of Warhammer or anything like that. Like I really got started when Malifaux started. So like Malifaux was really the first game that I played of any like where I really kind of read rule books and kind of got into the background of a story and started doing it. And then I moved on from Malifaux to War Machine and Hordes. So my background and my kind of start in the hobby, if you like, other than painting Games Workshop stuff, but I never bought a codex back then. I never bought a rule book. I never tried to learn to play 40k really. So I don't have any kind of like, I don't have the same kind of sort of like warm fuzzy feeling when people talk about like the Perry twins or kind of Jervis Johnson and the games that he's created and all of that kind of old school stuff. It doesn't really mean that much to me personally because I wasn't playing those games. Andy says, I just walked out of my job. This group is not the same. It's interesting. Do you know what, mate? I admire anybody that has the kind of the conviction to kind of stand up and do what they want. I did something very similar. It panned out a bit differently, but I'd made my mind up. I wasn't going to go to a job every day that I absolutely hated, and I was going to do something for myself. So I've got absolute admiration, mate. Whatever your plans are, mate, whatever they might not be the plans now, but whatever your plans you come up with, I hope it goes absolutely great for you. And if it's not something you enjoy and it's something that's making you not very happy, it can't ever be the wrong decision, mate. Fine. Peter says, fine, I'll wear my little one's Frozen Christmas hat then. Jill says, I think creators talking about stuff they clearly aren't super into is common, sadly. Good on you for being mindful of the facade. I think that's the problem. And this goes back to the point I was making before about people making videos for the algorithm, people making stuff that they know will generate views as opposed to making stuff that they're genuinely interested in. If I just, like, as an example, if I just make videos that are going to do well, for example, and that sounds stupid, but like if I just, like, I know what videos to make to get lots of views, but I'm not that interested in that subject matter. I'm not an expert on it. I'm not that interested in it. It's not really what I want to do. If I'm going to go down that route of just doing that for clicks, I'm far better off going and making like kids' toys videos, like sitting with my son and playing with kids' toys and doing kids' toy videos, because I'm not interested in making videos about that either. But I know they'll generate lots of revenue and I know they'll generate lots of views because I know how to, I know how to work the whole YouTube thing to make sure that you get, like, so that you know your thumbnails and your tags and your research titles and all that kind of stuff. Like, I know how that works. So if I was going to do videos about something I wasn't interested in, I'd do something that would make me some money. I want to just make videos about stuff I'm interested in. So no disrespect to some prominent names within the tabletop industry, but if I don't have any investment in the work that they've done, I'm the wrong person to interview them, really. That's the point I'm kind of making, really. Sunday Sykes says, I've never worked in hobby industry, but if you want to interview me, I'll bring the beer and bacon sandwiches. If you bring in beer and bacon sandwiches, mate, you can definitely be interviewed. Peter says, Brian Ansell was one of the founders of Citadel Miniatures. Now he owns War Games Foundry, I believe. There you go, mate. Completely passed me by that. Ed St. Ansell is the guy who wrote Laserburn. I've never heard of Laserburn, mate. Took over GW when it merged with Citadel, killed the UK RPG industry, and turned Warhammer into the juggernaut it is today. Yeah, honestly, I never heard of the name, never heard of the guy's name. Peter says, I'm walking out of my week job tomorrow, then I switch to a weekend job. Is that better for you, mate? Is that something that you're looking forward to, or is it being forced upon you or something? Kaylee, good evening. How are you doing? Nice to see your face here. So where were we at to? So yeah, that was the end of the year, actually. So that was the bit of the roundup, really. I got an email from YouTube the other day which had some 2021 stats on it, which actually, like, I'm not really one for like sort of stats, but I've been looking into my YouTube kind of sort of my figures and stuff to understand, because I'm trying to kind of like kickstart 2022 on a bit of a, like, still doing the same kind of coverage of like the same kind of topics and things, but just trying to craft it around what gets views, if you like, from the stuff I enjoy. So I've been looking into the analytics and things, and it was quite interesting when you start looking at some of the numbers. So this year, this channel has had 788,000 views on videos. Now that is a number that would have absolutely blows my mind. I can't believe what I do generates that many views. I know some channels might get that per video, and I know some channels are way bigger than mine. But that is a number for what I do. Just talking about the little part of the games industry that's not the big juggernaut part, if you like. 788,000 views just blows me away, really. That was made up of 84,000 hours of watch time. So to put that into some context, if you were to sit and watch something for 84,000 hours, that is just 9.5 years of watching continuously 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That is just it makes my head pop, that kind of thing. And we got about 4,430 new subscribers this year. So I'll have got more subscribers than that. I'll have lost some subscribers. That's the numbers go up and down. But by where we are at the moment, I'm basically just under 4,500 new subscribers this year. So yeah, it's been a pretty. For all we had a bit of a quiet period in the middle of the year while I was ill a little bit. We had a quiet period at the start of the year when kind of sort of games weren't being released. It was hard to come up with topics. I wasn't able to get out and play games and stuff. It's interesting to see actually just what you sometimes have to take these moments to look back on and look at the positives, because it's easy to look back at all the things that you think you're doing wrong and the things that didn't go quite so well. You sometimes kind of forget the good stuff as well. So what I want to kind of say is thank you to every single one of you for watching the videos, for giving the thumbs up and giving it the likes, for kind of interacting, for leaving comments, for chatting in the Facebook group, for posting your pictures, the work in progress stuff, for commenting on Twitter posts, for liking the Instagram posts, for being a Patreon, for donations, for buying a t-shirt, all of the different ways that people have supported me over the last 12 months. It does not go unnoticed. And if it wasn't for you lot and you supporting what I do, I wouldn't be doing this. So thank you very much to every single one of you. Where are we up to here? Mitchell's saying it would be fantastic to get Henry Cavill as a guest for a hobby chat. My wife said exactly the same thing as well. Well, I think she just wants to see Henry Cavill, to be fair. Peter says, I decided to switch so I can manage the kids during the week while my wife goes to work and vice versa. That's all cool, mate. Sometimes you just got to make that switch for family stuff, haven't you? Kaylee says, just made a mess. First time playing with oil washers on my Subway set. Oh, that'll be interesting. Ed saying, Laserburn is the game that became 40k and Necromunda and Kill Team. It's the progenitor of the whole UK sci-fi wargaming scene. There you go, mate. I've got absolutely no idea. See, like that kind of stuff, it's not on my radar, and that's the point about my history in gaming is way later than most people's. I think when I first started painting, sort of Warhammer minis when I just picked up some minis just to paint, I think it was the end of 5th edition 40k. So that gives you an idea of kind of I'm much newer to kind of to tabletop gaming than folks who are kind of sort of thinking back to those days. Vijay says it's an awesome number, Andy. Congrats. Thanks, mate. Yeah, like I say, it's just I never really went back to kind of look at it, but you get this kind of yearly email from YouTube which says, oh, this is how your channel did, kind of thing. And actually to look at the numbers, it was no, that can't be right. And when I went back and checked, it was yeah, bloody hell, it is right. Kelly says Laserburn was also a precursor to the XCOM franchise. There you go. XCOM's not something I've ever really played either. Tony says, yeah, you're stuck with me. I'm all right with that, mate. I'm all right being stuck with you. Ian says, you're welcome. Now about Maui being a villain. Never. Kaylee says, Laser Squad on the Specky was based on it, and the Gallops then expanded on it to make XCOM. Wow. News to me. Sonnet says, thank you, mate. We love your content, and many of us are here to stay. Thank you. I do appreciate that. Dave saying, I'm with Tony. Good luck getting rid of me. I like this. I like doing. I mean, everybody always told me not to do live streams. They don't do as well. They don't do good online and all that kind of stuff. But I kind of persevered with them, and they've always done all right for me. Because what they do is, I don't think people necessarily realize that there's more to it than big numbers. These kind of things create a community, and what they also do is they also sort people into the community as well. Because what tends to happen is the folks that don't really hang around and don't come back and don't enjoy the chats tend not to be the kind of, and I don't mean this to sound bad, but they tend not to be the kind of folks that would fit in with the kind of community anyway. And I mean that in the nicest possible way. Like, not everybody is everybody's kind of like sort of cup of tea. And the folks that hang around are the ones that are basically, thank you very much, Yoakum. Happy Christmas to you and your family. Looking forward to more great content next year. Thank you very much, buddy. Hugely appreciated. Yeah, the folks that kind of stick around and new folks that saying, yeah, you try and get rid of me kind of thing, those are the folks that hang around and make the community what it is. So, like, it's not always about driving numbers. It's about driving and growing a community of like-minded people. And I think we've been quite fortunate. We've never really kind of had any kind of bad apples or anything like that. And I guess that's because it hasn't grown astronomically fast, where basically everybody wants to kind of like get involved. It's grown gradually over time, but it's grown into like a really, really sort of nice group of people. And you know, I could never do that on my own. I might, like, I think I've said this kind of a few times, like, I might come and turn the lights on kind of thing, but everybody in the community makes it what it is, and I'm really appreciative of that. Tony saying, yeah, good luck getting rid of me. Tom saying, thank you, Andy, for everything you do. Thank you for everything you do for me as well, mate. And Tony says, speaking of likes, what was that one? 36. Come on, everyone. It's gone up a little bit. That's all right. Tasty Brain Drain says, no, Andy, thank you for putting out amazing videos and creating such a good... No, like I say, mate, I might be like kind of like I'm here to kind of to keep bringing everybody together, but it's an amazing community that's kind of grown up around it all. John says, video on the history of the UK games industry will be interesting. What's interesting is that company that tried to do it with Kickstarter and people didn't fund it. And there's things like that make me think, actually, maybe people don't really want to see that kind of stuff. Because I think the games industry is different to everybody, I think. So I would like to do like a bit of a documentary type thing at some point in the future. I'm not sure what the topic would be around. And I think as I chat to more people and I make more connections, and something will come up. But yeah, I think I would like to make something. Tissy Brindrin says, I'm definitely here to stay, even if I can't talk too much due to work. I do appreciate it. You folks that sneak in the background as well and watch at work with headphones and all that, I do appreciate it. Lawbane says, it's about that community, that jokey, loving, laughing community. Yeah, and I think we have a community where people don't always agree with each other, and I think that's healthy. I'd hate to think it was a vacuum chamber and you only ever heard what you wanted to hear. So not everybody will agree with each other, but I think we're respectful enough to be able to sort of disagree in a civil manner, and that's what makes it good. You don't really get that anywhere on the internet anymore. You don't get the opportunity to have a discourse with somebody and disagree with what they say, and each person put their point across. And you don't always have to agree with each other. Do you know what I mean? You can both have different opinions and both think that your opinion is right for you. I think it feels like a bit of a lost art. So it's nice that as a community we don't always agree on things, but it's nice that we can discuss them. That's the good thing. Andrew says, yeah, we're a bunch of closeted hermits. We love you too. Thanks, man. Lovin says, I've paid for the chair. Try and get me out. And Rob said, I'm here for the duration you're stuck. I'm glad I'm stuck with you. Look, that's good. You're a good bunch to be stuck with. Vijay says, I'm more of a bad banana than a bad apple. He says, are we all bad apples and can't see the barrel for the mold? Ooh, is this like, are we the bad ones? Are we the baddies? Is that what that's about? Scott says, great bunch of people and all down to you, Andy. Thank you, mate. John was saying, I just like the claw. Yes. John says, with the community stuff, you set the tone which others like and join, and then help to keep that tone going. Yeah, and I hope it doesn't feel kind of like, it's never meant to be like sort of dictatorial. Sometimes I'll kind of draw a line under stuff, but I just want folks to get on. I want it to be welcoming. I want folks to enjoy the hobby, and I want people to feel welcome and kind of encouraged. Really, that's all it's ever really been about. It doesn't matter what game you play. It doesn't matter what army you play, kind of thing. It doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter where you're from or what you do. It's kind of we all share the same kind of stuff in mind, and that's what it's always been about, really. Peter Cummins says, I identify myself more with a pear. You know, like a pear. You get wider the lower you look. I'm not. Why do you think I only have a camera from the chest down, mate? The chest up, mate? For exactly the same reason. Tony said, I'm just a bad smell that sticks around in your sofa. And Dave said, I tend to appear grumpy in person, but that's my face. Christian says, time for me to get some sleep. Thanks for an awesome year of content, Andy. Have a great week and a Christmas. Thank you, Christian. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again, mate, in 2022. Greg Cherry says, thanks, Andy. It's usually the best part of my work day on a Monday. Thank you, mate. That's very kind of you. Vijay says, an echo chamber. Being in a vacuum chamber really wouldn't be a good move. Yeah, like an echo chamber is basically just like, when, I'm sure everybody knows what an echo chamber is, but like when I think Twitter ends up a bit of an echo chamber at times because people end up just blocking people who don't agree with them. So whenever they say something, the people that reply are the ones that haven't been blocked, who tend to agree with them anyway. So people end up thinking that their opinion is the only opinion that everybody has. And that's what stunts conversation, and it stumps like discussion, because you end up in an echo chamber. You say something and you get the same sound coming back to you, basically. Where are we up to here? Ian said, I can't be a fruit. I'm a goddamn sexual triceratops. V says, oh yeah. Sunday's like saying a channel called Shut Up and Sit Down did a mini document about the board game Twilight Imperium, and people told them it would work. I was a lot more, it was a lot more successful than they expected. Yeah, I think it depends on what it is. I mean, Twilight Imperium is a massive game, isn't it? It's one of them games that everyone's heard of, but nobody has the time to play, I think. Yeah, Vijay's in pitching the end of Total Recall. Jill says it was a great documentary, but they said afterwards it was more work than they ever expected. Yeah, I can imagine that, actually. I can imagine that. 10 sketches. It's going to be a pain in the arse to do a hobby wargaming channel during a time where being face to face with someone carries considerable health risk. Thankfully, I've used the time for painting. Do you know what? I just look forward to the time when we can all kind of get back together and start playing again. And like, I think, I love the hobby. I love what we all do. I love wargaming. I love painting. But I like talking to people. Like I think that's where it's always been for me. Is like, yes, I love wargaming, but I love that it affords me the opportunity to chat to people about something we all enjoy, and that's always been the aim, really. Jill saying, is this the last stream for 2021? No, Jill, I think we're going to do one next week as well, because it's between Christmas and New Year, isn't it? Let me just double check the dates. So next Monday is the 27th, isn't it? Yeah, I think we'll do one next Monday as well. Why don't we talk about next Monday? We'll talk about 2022. We'll talk about like hobby goals for 2022, games we're looking forward to, a bit of a forward-looking kind of hobby for the year type thing, and we'll chat about stuff like that. It'd be nice to have a little tipple together, have a little drink, and kind of the pre-New Year one. I might even see if Mrs. Burtis will join me as well. She was saying that she quite enjoyed doing the we did like a New Year one last year, didn't we? And we had a couple of drinks and stuff, and sat and chatted to everybody. I think she quite enjoyed it. So I think yeah, we might even be able to sneak her on as well. Peter says, isn't there one on Wednesday? There hasn't been one on Wednesday for weeks, mate. I said a couple of weeks ago that I'm not doing the Wednesday night ones anymore for the rest of the year. So because they were basically killing the channel. When I said before, but I was looking back to see how the channel was doing, they were killing the channel. A long reason behind it, but that's essentially the reasoning behind it anyway. Andrew says, Twitter, an echo chamber, perish the thought. Yeah. VG said, didn't really block people back when I used Twitter, so I was more of an open sewer than an echo chamber. I think that's the thing. I think you kind of end up going one or two ways. You end up becoming really frustrated by the fact that like it is full of like just hate and anger and arguments, or you start blocking people and start curating it, and you then only ever hear people saying what you say. So it kind of ceases to become news, really. Mine's, to be fair, I don't really kind of like the people I follow are people who post nice pictures of miniatures and stuff like that, and companies who share the new games and stuff like that. So there tends not to be kind of like a lot of sort of hatred or political type stuff on it. I still interact with political stuff. Like I'm still interested. I still want to learn people's point of view and understand why people believe different things. But yeah, Twitter's not the place to find that stuff. Jill saying, cool, I try my best to manage 2 in a row. Nice one. Via says, the last stream with Lou was great. Looking forward to her company again. Yeah, she did say she enjoyed it, mate. So I think I can manage to kind of like get her once a year for a live stream. So we might do that next week. What I'll probably do is, obviously with the little one in bed, I'll rig something up in the house, and we'll maybe just like sit in the living room or something like that, or sit in the conservatory and sort of crack open a bottle of something nice and sit and have a conversation with you lot. Sunday's like saying, yeah, not working next Monday. I'm down for drinks and chat. Yeah, nice one. Peter saying, I must have missed that. Maybe it was alongside the bit about wearing Christmas jumpers, mate. Jill says, I've had to delete every social media app for the last few weeks. I don't know when I'll be able to come back to them. Do you know what it is, Jill? Interestingly, a little while ago, I deleted all the news apps from my phone. I don't really watch much TV. Like I watch like Netflix and Amazon Prime and Disney Plus and stuff. But I've deleted all of the news apps from my phone. I'm obviously not really going anywhere, so I'm not in the car listening to the radio or anything like that. And whilst I feel a lot happier because of it, I have absolutely no idea what's going on in the world. So when things are being talked about, like for like sort of potential lockdowns or changes in the rules, or like you've got to wear a mask here, you haven't got to wear a mask there, whatever it is, or any of that kind of stuff, I have absolutely no idea what's going on. And it's only the fact that like my wife's telling me something like about all the like potentially some lockdown stuff coming at the end of the year or whatever. I didn't know anything about this Omicron variant type thing. I didn't really understand what the difference was. It's amazing, like how you can take yourself away from kind of like news stuff in order to not like be depressed by the state of the world. But how you very quickly become like sort of isolated from what's actually happening. I couldn't believe how little like I actually was aware of by that point. Something like I'll be drinking at 5 a.m. True, but it's holidays, right? Yeah, it's holidays, mate, exactly. Logan says, I only use Andy's Discord channel and barely touch Facebook. People don't realise I can go nuts. I actually quite like Facebook, because I must admit, because I don't really have like I don't really kind of have like a friends list of people who are like posting like lots of stuff on their like own pages and stuff. I tend to just follow like loads of groups, so I'm seeing like it's all like gaming related. Really, it's all tabletop stuff, or it's things like the LA Rams or like Sunderland Football Club, or it might be like a local restaurant or a local pub or something like that, or like different things like that. So it's a nice kind of friendly feed of like all the things I like, really. So it is possible to do it. But yeah, it takes time. Dave says, I got my room ready. Nice one, mate. Vijay says, ooh, the conservatory. I guess that came before you switched to a YouTuber. It's actually an orangery, mate, if I'm being technical. But that sounds really wanky, so I don't ever say that. But I think technically the difference between an orangery and a conservatory is an orangery is kind of like has brick walls with a glass roof, and a conservatory has glass walls and a glass roof. But yeah, it was on the house. I didn't buy it. When we bought the house, it was already there, mate. But what we did was during the lockdown is my wife and I basically decorated the room so it's a bit more like an adult space with some nice lounge chairs in and stuff, and like a bit of a bar thing with our drinks and stuff. So if it's like during the summer and that, it's nice to kind of like sit in there and have a drink on an evening and stuff, and actually kind of like feel like we've gone out for the night. So yeah, lockdown changed that one. Peter says, I remember you talking about it, but I don't remember you saying you would stop. Yeah, I think I mentioned it either last Monday or the Monday before me, I think. Jill says, yeah, that's fair. It's not the news I have issues with, but I can see how it affects people like that. I get frustrated by the news because I feel like that basically all the press do at the minute is kind of like is just spread fear and spread kind of like they're not telling the news anymore, they're guessing at everything, and that to me just becomes like infuriating, so I've just turned it all off. Jill says, yeah, still able to see what happens to the Titans as well, yeah. And James says, ooh, an orange we get you. Lord Maiden says glass, try plastic. Yeah, there was that as well. Yeah, and Vigi's orangery. I've never even heard of that. I'm such a peasant. I'm sure they're just called different things. It sounds like a very British thing, to be fair. But yeah, I think it's like a conservatory. Essentially, is just basically like an extension of the house, right? Made of like double glazed, like basically like floor to ceiling, like glass walls or like sort of like double glazed windows, if you like. But yeah, an orangery is like a brick building. I'll show you a picture one day. Love Min says it's all doom and gloom and fear and what. Oh, look, a new miniature. Yeah, that's why when I look on my phone though, it's all just new miniature, new miniature. Oh, look what so and so's painted. Look what so and so's been playing. So mine is just a constant stream of just their hobby stuff. I'm all right with that one. Yeah, John says, yeah, I think in Australia an orange we would call an oven. Yeah, we don't get that much sunshine here, mate, that it ever becomes too hot to sit in it, to be fair. Yeah. We get that odd one or 2 days in the summer where you go, oh, it's a bit warm in here, should we open a window? But that's about the size of it, to be fair. So, folks, we are coming up to, where's my clock gone? 25 to 11. We've done the review of the year a little bit. So, like, it's been an interesting year, but I would say for me personally, I've played less games than I would like to have, obviously, because of life and the world. And I'm really glad that I discovered Marvel Crisis Protocol. It definitely got my vote for Game of the Year. I've played more games since I did that live stream as well, and I haven't changed my opinion. I'm still loving that game. I'm definitely going to try and get to more events next year, I think, to actually just kind of to play more games. I'm absolutely loving it. I'm sort of every now and again I'm sitting painting more of my Marvel minis and working my way through them all. And collecting those, but yeah, I've just really enjoyed it. It's been nice to kind of like to just play something as a hobbyist and not play something with the idea of like, well, how do I create content around this and how do I talk about it? So it's kind of nice to have that one game that's not been my focus for the channel, but it's also nice to talk about it when I'm enjoying the game as well. So Mitchell says, throw dice, not hate. That's a nice little slogan, mate. I'll take that one as well. So, Tony, I made the mistake of starting on a limestone cave project. I did see the picture, mate. It says, do you get a lot of that over the next few days from me? To be honest, I've intentionally been avoiding the internet a little bit over the last few days. So yeah, if you think I've been a bit quieter than normal, this is the reason why. I was going to see Spider-Man yesterday, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't have anything spoiled for me. So I've literally been totally avoiding. I've been avoiding Facebook groups. I've been avoiding YouTube. I've been avoiding sort of Discord groups and all that kind of stuff. I didn't want Spider-Man to be spoiled for me, and I went to see it yesterday. I absolutely loved it, and I'm not going to talk about it in case anybody else hasn't seen it yet. But it was amazing. It was well worth not having it spoiled for me. But yeah, so I'm back now basically. Jim said, I'd love Carnivore to get more popular. I've only played against myself, but I love the models and lore. It's a great game. I absolutely love it, mate. When we had the demo thing of it at the expo, I thought it was fantastic, and the background lore and stuff is excellent. I think it's just one of those games that, like a lot of games, it'll never really break through into the mainstream kind of market stuff, and it's a shame, because it's a good game. There's loads of games like that never seem to make it through. Vijay says 11 out of 10 Marvels. Yes, nice one. And Dave's saying no spoilers. You get no spoilers from me, mate. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody. But yeah, I intentionally I didn't want to go knowing anything about what happened, and that was it. I managed to go with a kind of I didn't think I'd be able to manage to wait until Sunday, especially with it coming out on Wednesday, without somebody going, oh, you'll never guess what happened. But no, I did. I managed, and I think it was because I almost took myself away from the internet. That's why. Tony says waiting for Spider-Man and a few others to come out on DVD. I still can't believe DVDs are a thing, mate. I think it'll only be a matter of time before that very quickly becomes a thing of the past. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, there are still people in the world whose internet isn't particularly good, and I guess that so there'll always be a reason for it. But there must come a point where financially it doesn't make any sense to make DVDs anymore, and everything will just become digital streams. I know they tried to do like digital downloads and stuff a while ago, didn't they? And it didn't really kind of take off. But yeah, I think just like digital renting digitally will just become the thing. Lord Ben says vanilla ice cream still exists. Yeah, but vanilla ice cream still tastes good and you can't get it digitally. That's the difference. Chuck and Deb says, we're seeing Spider-Man tonight. Sorry I muted you. We'll listen to the rest tomorrow. Yeah, well, enjoy it anyway. Enjoy it. Ortega said, I only just watched Endgame. The only one I haven't seen so far, the only Marvel film I haven't seen is Eternals. It's the only one I didn't get a chance to go to the cinema to see it. And then it was still on a couple of weeks ago, and then I saw it's coming to Disney Plus in January, so I just thought, I'll wait and just watch it at home when it comes out. But I think that's one that hasn't been as popular, so nobody's really spoiled anything for that one yet. I'm all right with that. Yeah, Jill's saying there's a huge section of the USA where the internet isn't up to it. I think that's the only reason why kind of like sort of digital media and stuff will persist, really. I mean, I don't know what, like, I can't remember the last time I went to HMV to look at like like CDs or DVDs or anything. I have no idea how big the section is now anymore. I mean, even DVDs, I guess, are probably going the way of the dodo with Blu-ray and stuff. But I guess again, it's all to do with who's got players, and it's like anything. I guess there will become a point where it fades away a little bit. Peter says, any opinions on the Hawkeye series? Yes, mate, absolutely love it. Potentially my favourite of all the Disney Plus TV Marvel series, if I'm honest. Pusey says the version where someone suddenly stands up mid-film. Rob says, I love Carnival. I plan on getting the hardback rulebook around the new year. Nice one, mate. There's a new there's the Blood on the Water. It was just announced as well, which is the expansion book, and I think it's going to have like updated rules in that book as well. So it potentially could be worth waiting for that. Kaylee says Eternals is a lot better than people give it credit for. Yeah, I haven't heard that it's bad or anything like that. I think it was just it's got a lot to live up to with all the other Marvel stuff, I suppose. And I think it's one of those films that introduces a lot of characters all at once. And if you're not like sort of really into it, it might seem a little bit like there's a lot going on here kind of thing. And yeah, I never got a chance to go and see it really, like to go to the cinema. So yeah, I'm just going to hang on for January now and see it on Disney Plus. Sunday Sykes says records came back. Never know what will be nostalgic. I think the thing with records is though there's that kind of feeling of records are better quality if you like. Like for example, mini discs haven't come back, cassettes haven't come back. Like I think the record thing was more about like almost collecting vinyl again, really. But yeah, I can't see like VHS never come back. The thing is with DVDs is like the quality of a DVD like is you get better quality streaming now. So I can understand why people still buy like sort of like Blu-rays and stuff like that, like for the higher quality picture over streaming stuff. But unless you're somebody that watches like films multiple times, it's quite an expensive way of getting to see a film now. Do we think Dave says, yeah, Eternals really surprised me. Thought it was going to be a generic Marvel movie, but it proved me wrong. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing it, to be fair. Dave says HMV is all t-shirts and vinyl now. Yeah, I think I walked past, there's a one in Newcastle I walked past and it looked like it was pretty much pop vinyls, t-shirts, like collectibles basically, I think. Greg says Hawkeye is a struggle for me. What? Hawkeye's brilliant, mate. I'm absolutely loving it. Jill says, as with everything, once the porn industry drops it, it'll fade away. I can't believe the porn industry's still doing it, to be fair. I can, and the reason will be is because it's the only way they make any money. Everything else is probably free online. Peter says, it looks like I'll add Hawkeye to the Christmas break watch list then. Yeah, I think there's only a few more episodes of it coming up, mate, to be fair. It's like, I think it'll end over the Christmas period. I think, are we up to like episode 6 now or something, I think? VJ saying Hawkeye's been great. I enjoyed Loki a little more, but that's because I identify with Loki's chaotic nature. I enjoyed Loki, but I found it it was a bit of a letdown towards the end, I'll be honest. The last episode didn't really do it for me, but overall as a story I thought it was quite good. WandaVision, I was a bit kind of up and down with. Like it felt like it could have been a bit shorter because like a lot of the kind of Wanda's world type thing was like just padding really for the story a little bit. Really enjoyed Falcon and Winter Soldier, but yeah, I think Hawkeye might be my favourite actually. Scott says, yeah, enjoying it way more than WandaVision. Agree with Andy on it too. Yeah. Kyle says, I collect vinyl. I enjoy having a decent sound system, putting it on a record and just escaping. Yeah, I think there's an element of that, mate. About definitely, that's one of the reasons why vinyl come back. Like nobody's gonna put on a cassette and kind of escape, kind of thing, are they? But I think there's an element. There's a theatre of like kind of like putting a record on and putting the needle on and having nice speakers and kind of sitting listening to it and stuff. So I completely get why it's a thing. But I think just because some stuff come back doesn't mean, like, I don't think DVD has that same kind of sort of like long-term attraction. Basically, I would say it's the reason cinema still exists is because people still want to kind of go and sort of watch a film on a big screen, as opposed to like why it hasn't just disappeared and everybody just streams stuff, if you like. I almost see records or vinyl as that same kind of like experience, if you like. Not necessarily like a big screen, but like there's an experience to listening to an album, if you like. Let me just kind of see. BG says cassettes have come back, but only in a small section of 80s nostalgia synthwave nerds. Yeah, I think that must be just a hipster thing, mate. Derek says cassettes have come back, quite trendy. I've never even seen a cassette player anywhere, mate. I don't even know where you'd buy one. Ortigas has been thinking of rewatching Doctor Strange, but should really catch up with the MCU. I mean, the good thing with the MCU stuff is you like there's loads of crossover and stuff like that. But yeah, Doctor Strange, I watched it again recently. I really enjoyed Doctor Strange. Kaylee says best part of DVDs with the extras, they aren't a thing anymore. I can't remember the last time I watched a DVD, Kaylee. I mean, I think it might have been. I might have watched Phoenix Nights because I've got the DVDs of Phoenix Nights. When we moved house, I basically just sent to charity all of my old DVDs and stuff like that, and I kept back about 2 or 3 of things that like I thought I would want to watch again or wouldn't be easy to get a hold of. And it was the season 1 and season 2 of Phoenix Nights. I've got a copy of Max and Paddy's Road to Nowhere signed by Peter Kay and Paddy McGuinness. And what was the other video I kept? A DVD. I've got a DVD copy of Sunderland winning the 1973 FA Cup. Those were the 4 DVDs that I kept. And Ed saying record is 100% about quality for me. Yeah. Kaylee saying last Hawkeye is episode 6 on Wednesday. I had a feeling it was going to be the last one, but it's interesting. It doesn't feel like it's got to a conclusion yet. Sunday Slice is off to work. Thanks again, Andy. Catch you next Monday. I'll have my 5 a.m. beer ready. Nice one, mate. Take care. Peter says, I'll fight anyone who tries to take my extended edition Lord of the Rings DVD boxes. Oh, no, they're not for me, that's for sure. Tizzy Brindrin says, I thought Hawkeye got off to a weak start, but really picks up with episode 3. I like the fact that they've set it up like Hawkeye isn't a superhero. Like he doesn't have any kind of like special powers. He doesn't fly. He doesn't shoot laser beams from his eyes. He's just a guy who is a really good archer. And I love the way they've set this series up to like he's getting a bit older now. Like he's getting a bit tired. He's not the kind of like the glitz and glamour of the Avengers. He was almost like only there by accident type thing. Like he like the way they kind of set it up, everything. Like you don't market yourself very well. Like you need a costume, and like the way that he's like almost like an afterthought in the Rogers the musical type thing. I like the way they've set Hawkeye up as that. It just grounds it in a bit more of a kind of like a real world type thing. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Jill says with Book of Boba coming as well, time to resub to Disney for a month. Yeah, I must admit, I think I get more value from Disney Plus than I do from Netflix these days. Yeah, VG says it's going to be awesome. Andrew Fairbanks says still hasn't watched Mandalorian. Oh, honestly, mate, it's definitely worthwhile. Both seasons were excellent. Tony says, yeah, I watch movies to death and don't have access to streaming on a big telly unless I drop 50-ish quid for a Fire Stick and an additional subscription charge. I couldn't justify the Sky movie. I never pay for Sky movies. I've never ever had Sky, and I've never paid for like Sky Cinema or any of that kind of stuff. I only have like Netflix, Amazon Prime, and I have Disney Plus as well. And to be honest, like it's still cheaper than I would ever pay for like a Sky subscription or anything like that. Um, Ian says you need to watch the Ashens advert and learn the true value and pronunciation of DVD. What you mean, David? Jill says 4K Blu-rays are the home video equivalent of vinyl. They provide the best version you can get. All the real movie buffs are a huge market for them. Yeah, I understand that. I mean, years ago I used to have like a cinema room type thing at home. And I had a big projector and a big screen, and I had like kind of like surround speakers and all that kind of stuff. And getting the highest quality kind of like picture to be able to appreciate on a big screen like that, like was exactly what I used to do. And I used to have like kind of like HD DVDs and DVDs and stuff like that back then, Blu-rays. And I used to kind of collect them back then. But now I find that basically like I'm not watching in that kind of environment anymore now. I'm sitting watching it on a TV in the living room type thing, and that's kind of good enough for me now, really. But yeah, I used to be into that kind of stuff. Tony says channels, so streaming seems the same. Subscription for one program or film. Nah, not so much, mate, because there is so much stuff to watch that you're not really subscribing for one thing. You're subscribing to get a bunch of things like. And there's such a mix of like old stuff on there as well. So yeah, I don't see it as just buying like the cost of a DVD is probably more, unless you're buying kind of second hand and stuff. But the cost of a DVD is probably more than the cost of a subscription to Netflix for the month, for example, or the cost of a subscription to Disney Plus for the month, and you'll get way more viewing out of that. That's kind of how I would say it. Beauty said, "Did you keep all your Only Fools and Horses DVD VHSs too?" No, I never bought any of that stuff, mate. I love Phoenix Night, mate. It's one of my favorites. Dirk says, "Off to bed. Have a nice holidays, everybody. See you next Monday. Take care, buddy." Vijay says, "I still have my non-altered original Star Wars trilogy on VHS, but haven't owned a VHS player in years." Kelly says, "Only DVD I still own is the 1986 Transformers animated movie." Andrew says, "Get your Disney DVDs now. You'll have to spend money on Disney Plus forever." I won't, mate. I'll only have to spend money on them when there's stuff I want to watch. Like, as long as there's new stuff that I want to watch, I'll continue to subscribe. But if there's nothing I want to watch, I won't bother. Like, I've gone back and I've watched all the Marvel stuff, and I've been watching kind of Star Wars and all that kind of stuff. But if I'm caught up on everything, I'll quite happily just sort of end the subscription for like 3 or 4 months, or till something new comes out, till the next series comes out, and then I'll dive back in, kind of thing. So I just see it as like it's like a rental fee. Like I'm not worried about having like to own it. As long as I've watched it and I've enjoyed it, that's all right for me. Katie says, "I'm totally sorting out Rogers the Musical posters for MCP. Have you seen it in the Marvel group? There's some in the file section that you can print out." Tizzy Brinton says, "Yeah, last episode of Hawkeyes this Wednesday, and then a week after that, the Book of Boba Fett." I mean, I'm looking forward to this. There's so much cool stuff coming up. Moon Knight's coming not too far away. I'm looking forward to seeing that. I've been reading the Moon Knight comic books at the minute, because I've got a Marvel Unlimited subscription, so I can kind of like watch all the Marvel or read all the Marvel comic books, and I'm enjoying going back and reading all the Moon Knight comics at the minute. Fiji says, "I love how they're setting up a costume change in Hawkeye. I can't wait to see Renner in purple." Keely says, "I get free Sky and it's still overpriced." Ian says, "Speaking in naughty voice." Fiji says, "Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Disney Plus, great mind." Yeah, I mean, to be honest, there really isn't that much else in the UK. There's like Now TV, which is like an extension of Sky, basically. That's like a Sky subscription type thing. And then there's like some like little offshoots things like Shudder, which is like kind of like horror movies type subscription. I don't know if there's anything else really, but yeah, there's like I get Amazon Prime because I get Amazon I subscribe to Amazon Prime for the delivery, so then I get Amazon Video type thing through that for free. Netflix is just something that we kind of like. I used to kind of keep turning off Netflix for a while and wait for the new shows to come out and stuff like that. And but at the minute now the little one's getting a bit older, he likes to watch all the cartoons and stuff on Netflix. So we kind of subscribe to that. And the Disney stuff, I'm loving it. Like there's actually some really cool stuff on Disney now. Joe27, hello Joe, and hello with the Spurs logo there as well. I always enjoy your videos, Andy, mate. Big up yourself and have a happy Christmas. Thank you very much, buddy. Very kind of you to drop in and say so. I really appreciate that, mate. I refuse to give Rupert his pound of flesh. Jill says, cinema room, orangery, bloody heck, man. We've led very different lives. Well, I used to have a house like years ago when I was married the first time, not now, but it was like a 3-story kind of big like old Victorian house type thing, and the whole of the kind of the top floor, the third floor, I kind of converted it into a cinema room, and it was awesome. Back in the days when I used to earn good money. Samir Patel, hello mate. He says, late to the party today. Thank you for a year of wonderful content. Happy holidays, y'all. Stay safe, stay healthy, be kind, and paint some minis. Couldn't agree more, mate. Thank you very much for your kind words. Scott saying, yeah, new Blade coming. Yeah, I mean, so you've basically got Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness coming. You've got Agatha Harkness TV show coming. You've got Blade. You've got Moon Knight. You've got like a lot of the kind of what they call again, not the Brotherhood, the Midnight Suns. There's quite a lot of the Midnight Suns stuff starting to come together, and you can see what they're doing with the whole Marvel arc, where they're basically like they're moving away from the kind of like the older characters now. Like obviously Tony Stark's not around anymore. Hawkeye's ready to kind of pass over the mantle. You've got Miss Marvel coming through soon. You've got She-Hulk coming in. Like they're starting to move through into like a new generation. You've got obviously the Falcon taking over as Captain America. It's quite interesting to see how they're working all that stuff out. James says, I pay way too much for Sky because they basically own me. I must have the F1 in the highest possible quality. See, the thing is with Sky, like, I mean, it's unbelievable how much people pay for Sky subscriptions. Like, I know somebody who pays like well over £100 a month for Sky, and it's like, I could subscribe to everything and still not pay that kind of like level of money. Don't we think, Dave, have you seen The Witcher? I've only gotten a few episodes into season 2 and it's been great. I watched season 1, mate. I've not watched season 2 yet. I've not had a chance to actually have any time to kind of sit down and watch it yet. AliExpress. Andrew says, hey y'all, our money's no good anymore. Our money's no good. No, and when I used to earn good money, I used to have a good wage. I don't have a good wage now. Your money's all I've got now. Jill says, yeah, the downside is spending a life working in public service. No chance of cinema room levels, Harry. The other side of it is, though, Jill, I spent my life working in a job that I absolutely hated. It was like selling my soul to the devil every day of the week. So yes, it might have come with money, but I didn't have a lot of free time to enjoy the spoils of that money. I've now got the other end of the wedge where I don't really have a lot of money, but I have time to spend with my family, and I know which one makes me much happier. So yeah, everything is everything's a trade-off. Kaylee says you missed She-Hulk. I think I said She-Hulk, didn't I? I think I said She-Hulk's coming. Yeah. Ed saying, have you tried Wheel of Time on Amazon? I haven't yet. No, I've heard mixed reviews about that as well, but I've not had time to watch that kind of stuff. Kaylee says, based on Dan Slott's She-Hulk, hopefully back before Spider-Man ruined him. It seems pretty good, actually. I've seen the trailers. The trailers look good, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. Rob says, Jimmy Morosco, Merry Christmas to you as well, buddy. How are you doing? Says, hope you'll have a great new year. Thank you, mate. And Rob's saying, drop the small piece of grey plastic on my grey rug. I've got grey carpets in my hobby room as well. What are we thinking, mate? Doing that kind of stuff. He says, take care, everyone. Have a Merry Christmas. It'll be about half an hour. About an hour before I find it. Take care, buddy. James is saying, my Sky sub was £40 a month on deals. At the end of 2 years, it shot up to £98 a month until I called them and they agreed to £38. You pay a fortune if you don't push. I think that's exactly what happens. Andrew, thank you for the donation. He says, we have to give you more money. I understand now. Thank you, buddy. No, I mean, I think I'm fortunate that I've kind of like I've had no money. Like when I was a kid and stuff, like my family we were skint. We didn't have any money and stuff. So I've literally kind of like lived on like no money. Then I've had a job which afforded me like quite a nice kind of sort of to buy nice things. But it meant I literally worked sort of like I was away from home a lot, and I worked very hard in something that I didn't enjoy and I wasn't passionate about and absolutely hated it, and got myself into a trap of like well, I need to work to buy nice things kind of thing. And I luckily was able to kind of to go full circle and come out and find that happy medium of actually, well, how much money do I need to satisfy, like, pay the bills basically, but enjoy my life and like enjoy my time off and spend time with my family and stuff. And I've managed to find the happy medium. It's took me to my like, kind of like my late 40s to be able to do that. But I appreciate not everybody gets to be that lucky. So yeah, money's nice when you haven't got it, I suppose. But it's not like the be all and end all. I'd much rather be happy, and you've got to earn enough to kind of to be off the breadline kind of thing, to pay the bills and kind of that kind of stuff. But yeah, money's not everything. Jill says, I saw someone's hobby desk a few weeks ago and they put a towel under their desk to catch bits. Life changing. I saw somebody, if you ever see online, you can see those kind of bib things that people stick to their bathroom mirror. So when they're shaving, all the hair falls onto that, and then you kind of like sort of tip it into the bin. I saw somebody hobbying with one of those on, like suction cupped to their hobby table. So when they were kind of working, anything fell onto this kind of like this apron thing. Mitchell says, I'd much rather Boba Fett remain an enigmatic cult legend than for Disney to turn him into a show pony. I think as long as they stay on the same vibe of where he was in The Mandalorian, I hope I'm not spoiling that for anyone there, I think we'll be all right. Because I get the impression that the story is going to be more around the characters around Boba Fett as opposed to around just Boba himself. But it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I'm looking forward to it anyway. Anyway, folks, 11 o'clock. I am knackered, so I'm going to bed. So thank you very much, folks. I've had an awesome night tonight. Thank you very much for your donations tonight. Thank you very much for coming into the... Thank you very much for... I'm just reading that there. Thank you very much for coming to the live stream tonight. I really do appreciate it. I've had an awesome year this year, all things considered, about everything that's gone on, and it's nice to kind of end it with you lot. So I will see you between Christmas and New Year, but I probably won't speak to you before Christmas unless you're in the Patreon chat. So to the rest of you, a very Merry Christmas. Enjoy some time with your family. Hope everyone stays healthy, and I'll speak to you all very, very soon. Thanks for watching my video. I hope that you really enjoyed it. And if you did, why not consider clicking on the suggested video below to see more of the work that I've done. If you'd like to support the long-term sustainability of this channel, why not consider checking out my Patreon, where you can pledge and support from as little as $2 a month. And there is lots of different tiers and bonuses, which will give you access to a private Discord server. It will give you free t-shirts, free mugs, a podcast every month, and a number of other things, including getting your name at the end of every video, like these awesome folks who already support me now.